The autumn wind whispered through the backyard of my grandmother Eleanor's modest ranch house in suburban Detroit, carrying the savory aroma of roasting turkey that should have felt like home. But as I sat at the weathered picnic table, my laptop opened to the latest quarterly reports for Hayes verification services. Peace was the last thing on my mind. The numbers stared back at me, proof of 15 years grinding in the high-stakes world of authenticating rare artifacts for elite auction houses. A world my family never cared to understand. Or maybe they understood too well and chose to ignore it. My phone vibrated, the screen lighting up with Sotheby's East Asia desk. I answered quietly. Anna Hayes. The voice on the other end was tense. Anna. The Thai Emerald consignment just failed our initial scan. The client's pushing for a rush verification. I glanced toward the house, where laughter spilled out like forced confetti. I just wired $5,000 for this Thanksgiving spread. A gesture they'd take for granted. Send the data packet. I'll cross-check it with our proprietary algorithm tonight. As I hung up, the sliding door creaked open. There she was, my sister, Lila, strutting out in her latest designer boots. The kind that screamed influencer chic but hid the emptiness beneath. Working on a holiday? Mom's pissed you've been ghosting the party. Her tone dripped with that fake concern she'd mastered since we were kids. I forced a smile, closing my laptop halfway, just tying up loose ends. But Lila's eyes gleamed with mischief. The same look she'd worn at 16 when she'd borrowed my diary and read it aloud at dinner. She lunged for the device. Come on, Anna. Let's show everyone what the big shot verifier is up to. No secrets in family, right? My heart stuttered as she snatched it and bolted inside, heels clicking like a countdown. Lila, stop. But she was already in the dining room, waving it like a flag. Look what I caught. Anna's too busy for us peasants. My parents, Laura and Robert, froze mid-table setup. The chandelier's light caught Laura's perfectly coiffed hair, a mask for the chaos she orchestrated. Really? Anna? On Thanksgiving? Lila spun the screen toward them. Silence crashed over the room like a wave. There it was. Hayes Verification Services, liquid assets, $12.5 million. Robert's face drained of color. Laura's eyes widened, then narrowed into slits. The air thickened, heavy with unspoken accusations that had simmered for years. You've been sitting on millions while we scraped by? Laura's voice erupted, sharp as a knife edge. Scraped by? I'd been funneling $2,500 monthly for medical emergencies and home repairs for 5 years. $150,000 vanished into their void. Lila's tears started on cue. Her specialty since her childhood bout with leukemia that she'd milked into eternal victimhood. I was sick. Anna. You knew we couldn't afford the follow-ups. The room spun with their outrage. But inside me, something cracked, not broke, but finally gave way. I'd been the shadow child, shipped off to Eleanor's at 10 because Lila needs the attention. My SAT scores dismissed with a pat on the head while Lila's C average got parades. Eleanor, watching from her armchair, met my gaze. Her nod was subtle, but it fueled the fire building in my chest. This money is mine, I said, voice steady despite the storm. Earned while you pretended I didn't exist. The betrayal hung there, raw and ugly. As I grabbed my things and walked out, Eleanor's hand on my arm the only anchor in the chaos. 2 days later, the Chicago skyline mocked me from my 45th floor office, its lights blurring as rain streaked the windows. I'd stared at the bank statements for hours. 5 years of transfers labeled family support, medical/housing, $150,000. Numbers don't lie, but families do. I pulled up old texts from Laura. Lila's treatments are draining us. We might lose the house without help. I'd set up auto-pay without question. Guilt my constant companion. Now, Public records told a different story. The mortgage cleared 8 years ago. No liens. No debts. Lila's Instagram feed was the smoking gun, posts of luxury spa days in Miami. Captioned, "Healing vibes blessed," timestamped days after my wires hit. Bali getaways for mental health, funded by my support. The pattern screamed fraud. A web spun from my sister's ongoing health issues that were really just excuses for extravagance. Laura the architect. Robert the silent partner. Lila the star performer. They'd played me like a mark in one of my artifact scams. My chest tightened. Breaths shallow as rage coiled tighter. If I cut them off, what then? Public tantrums? Smears on my reputation? Hayes' verification thrived on trust. One whiff of family drama could tank deals. But Eleanor's voice echoed from our call last night. "Build your fortress." Anna. They never built one for you. I opened the banking app. Finger hovering over cancel recurring payment. The hesitation burned. Years of conditioned duty screaming to maintain peace. Then, with an exhale that felt like shedding skin, I pressed confirm. Freedom tasted bitter, like dark chocolate laced with poison. Notifications piled up, missed calls from Laura. Voicemails laced with hysteria. I archived them all. Evidence for the war I sense brewing. My PR lead, Carla, met me at dawn. We'll prep for fallout. Update security protocols. By noon, client lists were fortified. Visitor access revoked. The silence from my end would be my first weapon. Let their desperation echo in the void. A week post-Thanksgiving, the lobby intercom buzzed like an alarm. MS. Hayes. 3 individuals claiming family ties are here. They're escalating. My receptionist's voice wavered. I knew before she said, "Laura." Robert. Lila. The payment hadn't cleared, and now the beasts were at the gate. From my office vantage, I pictured it, Laura's indignant demands, Robert's bluster, Lila filming for her dwindling followers. Panic clawed at my throat, the old urge to appease rising like bile. But no, this was my domain. Call security. They're not family, they're intruders. Stepping into the lobby, I faced them, Laura's face twisted in fury. Robert looming like he did when I was small. Lila's phone capturing every tear-streaked plea. After all we've sacrificed. Laura lunged. Nails out. But security intercepted. UOS. Anna. Filial duty laws. Robert bellowed. Lila sobbed. How can you abandon your sick sister? The scene played out like a bad script. But for once, I directed. Escort them out. Trespassing charges if they return. Walking away. Their threats faded behind elevator doors. Alone. Tremors hit, rage. Sorrow. Release. Tears came unbidden, washing away decades of swallowed pain. The invisible daughter had finally spoken. And the price was this hollow victory. In the following days, I built my armor piece by piece. Timelines of deceit, payments cross-referenced with Lila's lavish posts. Laura's pleading emails against property deeds. Security footage of the lobby clash. Unedited. My legal team pored over it, no obligations. This is fraud territory. We monitored. Lila's one-star review bombs on my firm. Anonymous calls to clients. The emotional toll gnawed nights replaying childhood slights. The guilt of abandoning them twisting like a knife. But resolve hardened. Their betrayal wasn't just money. It was erasing me. When the lawsuit landed filial support claims. Emotional distress, I smiled coldly. They've sprung the trap. Our counterfiling attached everything, evidence of lies. Manipulated narratives. Lila's edited video versus raw footage. The media leak was calculated, headlines shifted from heartless millionaire to family fraud exposed. Sponsors fled Lila. Robert's community ties frayed. Laura's social circle ghosted her. Their unity cracked. Arguments overheard by neighbors. You pushed too far. The reckoning wasn't triumphant. It was exhausting. A mirror to my own scars. 3 days after the exposé, Lila's apology video circulated tears. Claims of misunderstandings. Old acquaintances called. Pressured by Robert. Even a major client wavered. This drama. It reflects poorly. Doubt surged. Was justice worth the wreckage? Eleanor's words anchored me. This is for every overlooked soul. We released the full story through a trusted journalist. Timelines. Proofs. The scholarship fund I'd endowed with $2.5 million for invisible students. The narrative pivoted philanthropy over scandal. Lila's empire crumbled. Followers fleeing her facade. Robert took a menial job. Laura faced isolation. A final letter from Laura arrived. Unopened it sat. A relic of pain I no longer needed to face. The cost? Sleepless nights. Trust shattered forever. But in the quiet, something bloomed, self-worth. Untainted. 6 months on. Morning sun bathed my Chicago penthouse, where Eleanor now resided in comfort. The university speech loomed, but anxiety had dulled to purpose. Hayes verification boomed, new offices in London. Tokyo. Therapy unpacked the wounds. Being strong was their chain. At a small gathering, my team toasted to authenticity. Eleanor raised her glass. Eyes proud. The unopened letter stayed drawer-bound. Backward glances held no power. In my journal, I penned, the shadowed girl emerged. Unapologetic in her light. Arm in arm with Eleanor. We face tomorrow free. At last. From the ghosts of betrayal.